Ever feel like your training's on track to produce a banger race, only for it to all fall apart during the taper? Peaking too soon is incredibly hard to identify because when you're peaking, everything feels good. And when everything feels good, there's no reason to think you're at risk. Often that means we keep pushing on with our training with the added motivation that we're on for a good one, only to find ourselves feeling flat and tired in the final month before the race. Yet, off the back of such amazing training and so close to our goal race, we're reluctant to aggressively pull back on our training, which leaves us in fatigue purgatory. Too tired to build fitness, but not really resting enough to recover. That's why I like making modular, smart training plans that are super easy to adjust and track, rather than a rigid fixed pace and distance plans that have you feeling like it's all or nothing. Because when you're following a plan without any tracking or adjustments, you're often left trudging through the last few weeks of your training, hoping that the taper will miraculously bring you back to life. Unfortunately, this often doesn't happen in time, and our amazing form from just a few weeks ago is replaced by heavy legs, high heart rates, and subpar performances. So what can you do to identify if you're peaking too soon, and what kind of peak are you hitting? Because there are two types of peaks that we need to be aware of. As I said, it is incredibly hard to catch this at the time. But there are 4 warning signs we can look out for that typically come up within the risk window of what I call the preparation phase, which is about 8 to 4 weeks before your event, typically the highest load of your training. The first is the Superman effect or Superwoman effect. This is the standard type of peak in your form, peak form. If you're hitting significant personal bests from recent history, it doesn't need to be lifetime personal bests, more than a month from your goal race, you're at risk. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you're at risk. If everything feels like it's going well here, I'd be inclined to pull back the intensity for a week and push your bigger, heavier race-specific workouts closer to the race, or replace them with equal of distance or duration of aerobic training. Yes, there's potential that you're going to keep building fitness right up until the race, but what your data is showing you is that you're already in the shape that you've been training to achieve. So the goal should be to hold on to that form rather than risking it for a little more. So by pulling back slightly and replacing your bigger race-specific workouts with aerobic runs, when you're on form, we can hopefully hold that form for a couple of weeks longer and then lay the sharpening weeks just a little closer to the race than we otherwise would. Number 2 is going to be health metrics. HRV and sleep are kind of the main ones. You may track other ones, but the advice is going to be very similar. HRV and sleep, if they are significantly outside of your usual trend, I don't mean slight blip here or there, I mean outside of your normal range, which Garmin or whatever device will normally give you, or trending that way, and you'll want to have at least 2 months of consistent data for this to be reliable. I'll also give you a tip that trust it or don't. Don't treat it like your Garmin fitness score and listen to it when it says you're productive and then blame it for being trash when it says you're unproductive. Because now we need to be aware of the second type of peak, which is peak fatigue. Fatigue is absolutely essential during a training plan, but we need to be careful about when we're hitting our peak fatigue levels, because if it's coming before our most important training sessions or block of training, we're at risk, and our HRV, sleep, body battery, these type of things, these health metrics can give us an indication if we're trending either significantly in the peak form or the peak fatigue. Number 3 builds on that with tiredness and motivation. A little more subjective, but I have a 2 red flag system. If I'm tired but motivated to get out and run, that's okay. Training makes us tired. Sometimes we just have to push through it. If I'm unmotivated but not that tired, that's okay. When life piles up and the weather packs in, training can be a grind, but it's otherwise okay to push through. If I'm tired and unmotivated, that's not okay. I've had 2 red flags, and I know personally I've only got to drag myself through maybe 1 or 2 of these type runs before it's absolutely time to shut it down. Otherwise, my body will kind of shut it down for me. And finally, number 4 is the reverse Superman effect or Superwoman effect. Sometimes you won't get the Superman effect before you get the downward trend in peak fatigue. You might have been making steady progress as you work through the build phase, but nothing significant really happens and then, everything's feeling as it should, but you notice your numbers aren't quite measuring up to what you were doing before. When this happens, you're carrying too much deep fatigue in your muscles and you're becoming less economical. All the signs like HRV, tiredness, motivation will probably be in the green, but that increase in deep muscle fatigue can linger every time you go to push the pace above threshold or try to hold marathon pace or slightly faster like half marathon pace for any significant amount of time. Typically, this situation will be preceded by recovery weeks that you'd planned, but actually end up being more like a full-on training week. This is where having a training plan in place is super important because you can actually objectively look to see if you stuck to the plan or did a little more or a little less, which is often not the case. My advice here is much the same as the Superman effect, but slightly more aggressive. Whatever you have planned over the next 7 days, convert it all to aerobic runs. You don't necessarily need to make things shorter, although you can, so that can provide the body with the space to recover those deeper motor units and get rid of that deeper muscle fatigue. I've experienced and ignored all of these signs as a runner, even while using an adjustable training plan with all the tracking and performance data staring me in the face. So I can appreciate how hard it is to pull back when you're so close to that main race. But I can tell you it is way more enjoyable to be slightly underdone and able to run to your full potential on the day versus a little overdone and then too tired to put in the effort when it really counts in the back end of the race. So check the description for my free and paid products, and I'll link to my Strava there as well so you can follow along with my training. Call me out when I'm doing some of the stuff that I talk about. All the best with your training, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.